Welcome back, and thank you for joining for another one of Mike and Billy's whiskey reviews. Today I'm going to bring you a whiskey I was just able to source, but one of my favorites, and that is the Bruichladdich Black Art. This is the 1990 version, 23 years old, 49.2% ABV. Unpeated, uncolored, single malt Scotch whiskey from the island of Islay, but a non-peated whiskey. So, Islay Fest is actually going on right now. Love to be there. Super envious of those of you who are there. So, hope you're enjoying yourself. Bruichladdich, excuse me, is a distillery that does both peated and non-peated single malt Scotch whiskeys. And this is one of the non-peated versions. And I gotta tell you, probably my favorite Bruichladdich by a wide margin. This one is incredible. I haven't had a ton from the distillery. I've had the classic, I've had the local barley. I've had 3 or 4 of them, but this one here, absolutely amazing if you can get your hands on it. Had to go to Bellevue, Kentucky to source this one. And whenever I go to the party source, they have an incredible selection, but unfortunately they're pretty pricey. I picked this one up for $406 US plus tax, so it was not a cheap bottle at all. But a bottle that I find worth it even at that price, just to give you kind of a comparison, like a Macallan 18's $269 here right now, and I would rather have one of these than say 1.5 of a Macallan 18. Nothing, I'm a big fan of Macallan. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to give you sort of a gauge as far as how I feel about the whiskey. So, like I said before, it is uncolored and unchill filtered, so we really appreciate that from the distillery. They're probably handing out some fantastic bottles here for Islay Fest, but the best I can do for you is just give you a couple of whiskeys that I have on hand here in Columbus, Ohio. All right, so since it is natural color, I want to show you guys this all natural color. And it is it's dark mahogany. Well, maybe not quite mahogany. It's almost like caramel with a touch of red in it. Like the red in the back of the wall almost. But it is a lovely red color. Reddish hue to it. Really, really, really nice. Give it a quick swirl around the glass. See what we're picking up as far as the legs. The legs, bunches of them, like fingers all over the glass, and they start beating up and coming down. All right, let's get into the smell. Lovely. Cherries. Almost reminiscent of like a Glendronach 21 or a Glendronach 18 as far as like that Morello cherry. Almost like the sherry's there, but a lot of things are going on in this one. No one's really sure how they make this particular whiskey. It's called Black Art, apparently because it's a closely guarded secret, similar to say Glenmorangie Signet. A lot of things go into making this. Not quite sure what it is, but let's try to figure it out together if we can. All right, so besides the cherry, I'm getting a typical sherry nose, getting some dark fruits. Also getting like a grape almost. As strange as may sound, like a green grape. Almost like a wine characteristic. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like the smell of grapes you get from like a wine, like maybe sure, I'm not too much of a wine guy myself, but this does have a very wine characteristic to it. Now, you got to forgive me. I had a sample of this, which I brought to you, and I believe that was the 24-year-old. I believe that was the 1992 version, way back, I think, in the 60s or 70s as far as the reviews. So this is the first time I really got to dig into a bottle. It's really hard to tell how much I've got into because it's a black bottle, but it's about right here, roughly. So I've had a good chance to kind of get used to the bottle, and that way I can tell you what I think of it after I've had a few drams and not just the sample. Also, now I'm picking up a little bit of sugar and dark honey. It's really nice. I would say that's a lot of what it is. I would say the dominant flavors, those typical sherry notes, cherries, a grape wininess to it. And I would say dark sugar and dark honey. It's pretty much what I got going on here. All right, time for the first sip. Spicy on the palate. Really wasn't picking up a lot of spice on the nose, but really spicy on the palate. Almost reminiscent of something that was maybe like aged or finished in like a French oak. Like Glenlivet makes a 15-year-old French oak reserve, and I'm not saying it's a similar whiskey, but I'm picking up some similar notes of that spicy fruitiness. I mean, there's cinnamon, there's clove, there's a bunch of spices in it, but it's really almost tart in some ways. But lovely in mouth coating. You barely taste any alcohol at 49.2%. It's really well balanced. Almost like, what's kind of interesting with this one was I was picking up a lot of honey and vanilla on the nose. And that would make me think that, this was traditionally ex-American bourbon. And I still think that was probably the initial maturation, or at least the majority of the time that was in wood was probably in ex-American bourbon barrels. But it really, on the palate, it really tends to skew very heavily towards the darker fruits and a lot of spice to it, which is really interesting because on the nose, it's so much different. On the nose, it's almost reminiscent of like a really well-aged Balvenie. Like if you guys have ever had the chance to try like the Balvenie 30 or like one of the tons. Actually, I got a ton 1509. I'll bring that to you guys here shortly. It's almost reminiscent of something like that. It's almost reminiscent of, in regards to the smell of the vanilla and the honey, as like one of the ton 1509s. But on the taste, man, the taste is far from very little honey and very little sugar and vanilla on the taste. So I'm gonna throw a splash of water in there and swirl it around here a little bit for you guys. Try to see if I can pick up anything different, because it is nearly 100 proof or nearly 50% alcohol. I'm almost getting like more wine cask in this, which is odd. Well, I guess not odd, because it is sherry, so that is a fortified wine that they would age in. And if it is a French oak cask that I'm guessing it was finished in, that's my guess, it was definitely some type of fortified wine. Yeah. At this point in my whiskey journey, I feel like I can distinguish pretty well between a Pedro Jimenez and an Oloroso sherry, and this is something different. I quite don't know what it is. But now I am picking up a little bit, with water, I'm picking up a little bit more spice on the nose. Or perhaps it's just the fact that I know it's so prominent on the palate. Definitely honey. Definitely still a little bit of that vanilla. The vanilla with water kind of fade in the background a bit. All right, second sip time. Beautiful in mouth coating. As soon as you swallow, spicy on the side. Now I'm getting dark chocolate. After you swallow, again, all that spice, all that rich spice, and just now, just kind of coming in, a little bit of honey, a little bit of vanilla. A great whiskey. Again, it's overpriced, most likely. You know, I used to be able to get it on Master Malt. Unfortunately, they stopped shipping in the United States, which is terrible. But it's one that, you know, I can pick up. Probably cost me somewhere in the low 400s to pick it up, but I still find it worth it because I really do enjoy this whiskey because it's something different. It's not a whiskey that I can easily compare it to something and say, hey, look, you know, this reminds me of this and this and this. Although, again, with the richness of the vanilla and the honey, it does remind me of the Balvenie Ton 1509, just to a certain extent. But just with cherries and spice, and it's a darker overall texture to the feel in the mouth. Anyway, I'm at probably, I would say, this is a good one here. I'd say about a 91 or 92 out of 100. I'll go 92. It's a good whiskey. I have tried the 92 and I have tried the 89. Both of those are pretty consistent. Although the 92 was a little different than the 89 and the 90. I know recently they had someone else take over the distillery. I can't exactly remember who bought it out from them, but I heard they kind of tinkered with the 1992 version slightly, and there was some subtle differences to it, at least from what I can remember, but still a really good bottle of whiskey regardless of which one that you get. Again, the 89, the 90, and the 92, I've tried all of those. I find it worth the $400 roughly price that I paid for it here, US in the United States. So if you guys, you know, want to check this bottle out, or if you have checked this bottle out and you have some opinions on it, I'd love to hear what you guys thought. So next time, I want to thank you for joining us for another one of Mike and Billy's whiskey reviews. And just so you know, I'm working on a different place to do it. I know this red backdrop probably isn't the best. Probably you guys can't maybe pick up some things as well. But as soon as I can figure out another place to do these when Billy and I can't get together, I will definitely give you guys a better viewing experience. But until then, I do appreciate you guys limping along with me here. And until next time, I wish you happy drinking.